Welcome back to the Warrior Servant Leader podcast. We're so glad you're joining us today. We have a great guest. Stanley Lewis is a nationally recognized mediator, leadership, and communications expert, personally endorsed by Dr. John C. Maxwell, and that is a huge endorsement. I know John, he trained me back in 2013, one of the top communications and business leadership gurus in the world, and Stan is actually personally endorsed by John, and that's an awesome credit to him. He's also has an Amazon One best-selling author of a series called Stand on the Shoulders of Giants. He's delivered transformational results for more than 300 companies, corporations, and governmental agencies across the United States. And at the core of Stan's impact are his proprietary programs, the Freedom Perspective Program, the Ripple Effect of Servant Leadership, and Conflict Resolution, Moving from Doubt to Freedom, all trademarked, great programs that he has. These frameworks guide leaders to identify and overcome mental barriers, unlocking transformation at both a personal and organizational level. Stan is committed to the principle that true leadership transformation results in lasting positive change for individuals and organizations. And at the end, we're going to share how you can reach out to Stan and discover more about the Freedom Perspective. And Stan, we're going to talk about it, the Doubt Detox worksheet that you have created that helps people wherever they're at in their own home, in their own time, can start looking at breaking the conditioning and unlocking that freedom and lead fully in their lives. So Stan, man, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Well, it's good to be here, Pat. Thank you very much for inviting me. Wow, what an introduction. You know, if most people, when they get to meet Papa John, and that's what a lot of us call him, he's just really a down-to-earth person, but he casts a big shadow, and I tried to live up to that namesake by going out and doing what he wants to do. He wants us to go out and just really encourage people to be the best leaders that they can be. And that's what I'm about. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and your audience here today.
Well, I'm telling you, John, he radically opened up my little pea brain back in 2013 at probably one of the most fundamental basic books that I have reread and have tons of notes on are the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I love how he incorporates all these fundamental human laws and relates it back to, quite frankly, it's every one of them he is found in Scripture, because that's how he started out, was a small town pastor.
And then as a senior pastor, and not only that, but you're right, he does break it down into bite-sized chunks where you can just really go deep in certain areas. And it's in everyday language where anybody can understand it, anybody can comprehend it. He didn't make it complicated. Matter of fact, he made it simple. Yeah. And that's what I love about John. You'll get a lot out of that book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Yes, sir. Outstanding book.
And that kind of, and I didn't have any, because I don't like interviews, because they sound so awkward and
they can be
robotic. I love conversations. And I love learning about people and being inspired and having aha moments in those conversations. And talking about John, because that was not even on my kind of radar.
No problem. I love talking about John. He's a great man.
He is. But I want to talk that you have found your mission and vision and niche, if you want, in that whole arena of self-doubt, and how that mindset that negative condition is holding people back from living life more abundantly.
All the time.
And
All the
so talk about, because when I first was reading some of your material, and I go, when I saw a detox worksheet, and naturally the first thing you think of, or I thought of, is detox from drugs or alcohol kind of deal. You're talking about detoxing and flushing out all that, those imposter syndrome, those doubts,
syndrome, limiting beliefs. And, I know where you were kind of going with that. You think of detox, you think of somebody that's detoxing from alcohol, detoxing from drugs. And as bad of an effect as alcohol and drugs can have on our lives, when we doubt ourselves, when we suffer from imposter syndrome, when we give into limiting beliefs, it's also destructive to our lives. It's destructive on how we simply live our lives every day. It's destructive to any dreams that we might have. And notice I said might have, because those doubts, you'll think about a dream, but then, I would love to do that. But if only I was in a different circumstance, I might go ahead and do that. And we just come up with all sorts of excuses as to why we can't live the dreams that God meant for us to live. If only, Pat, we would step out of our comfort zone, which, by the way, is one of the worst things. It's not comfortable. It's far from comfortable. If we're truly honest with ourselves, a comfort zone is not comfortable at all.
Oh, look at the scripture. Pick up daily, pick up your cross. It doesn't say, hey, pick up the keys to your Jaguar. It's pick up your cross and follow me. That the rewards at the end of that journey are worth the discomfort, or bearing whatever crosses that you're called to bear. And I kind of think of, two things. And John talks about it in 21. He calls it the law of the lid, in 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And he talks about how the McDonald brothers in California had this burger business in a dozen stores, and they were doing really, really well. And they hire, I always mispronounce his name, Cook or Koch, Koch.
Yes.
For some marketing ideas, and he's trying to convince them, well, take this, franchise this, get out of just being in California. Oh, no, that self-doubt that you talk about. People come to our McDonald's because of our name, and they know us and whatnot. And he eventually bought them out, and then kept the name, McDonald's, and now I don't know how many billions of burgers have,
all over the world.
All over the world. And that limiting belief that the McDonald brothers had prevented them from scaling and growing their business, because they thought, and that's the one thing you were talking, the way you put it is, if only, or, well, what if? And we always fill that with a negative outcome. Well, what if the economy turns? It goes down, we have a recession, or what if this, what if that? And it's always something bad, not, well, what if it becomes a Chick-fil-A and I can make a difference in the world, in people's,
all the different places that you could go from that point. But first, you have to step outside your comfort zone. And I have a book coming out in September, Pat, that's called Evict the Doubts That Have Been Squatting Rent-Free in Your Mind. And one of the things I talk about is, the elephant that's tethered to a stake. Some stories you hear, it's tethered to the stake by a rope, maybe a flimsy chain. And that's our comfort zone. Our comfort zone extends to the point of how far that chain or that rope stretches out. And when the elephant is small, it can't break that rope. So as it grows up, it still has the memory that it could not break free. And now, even though it's this great, big, strong, massive animal that has all this potential, it won't pull against the rope because it believes that it can't. And we end up in the same type of circumstances. We failed, uh, or this failure. Now we get ready to do something else. We remember, well, that didn't work, so this is not going to work, and we come up with all sorts of excuses. And if it's not us, it's other people speaking into our lives, saying, you'll never be able to do that, so why even try? And so we don't pull against that rope, and we sit in our comfort zone. And there are a whole lot of dreams out there that we can step into. We don't step into our potential as a leader, or as a husband, as a wife, as a peer in the workplace, as a supervisor, as a leader, simply because something happened in the past, or we just being mentally conditioned to stay in our comfort zone and not pull against that rope. When in truth, Pat, if we exercise our potential, if we exercise our gifts, we could snap that rope. And there are people out there say, well, I don't have any gifts. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
God didn't make any junk at all. He gave everybody gifts. So you do have gifts, and in that gifting is immense power. You can break free of that rope. You can break free of that self-doubt. You can break free of that imposter syndrome, those limiting beliefs, those chiding little voices whispering in your ear telling you that you can't do this or you can't do that. And I've lived it. I'm not talking about something that I've seen over here or I've seen over there. I've lived it, Pat.
Well, tell us about that. I mean, what's your
Well,
Paul Harvey rest of the story, yo?
Well, in my book, and I'll talk about this. One of the things I talk about right at the very beginning is being a young enlisted man in the Navy, and I wanted to be an officer. And I was excited about it. So you tell other people on the ship, hey man, I got this dream. I want to be an officer. I talked to my chief petty officer, and he was behind me. My chief petty officer talked to the executive officer, and the executive officer was behind it and said, hey, if he's willing to work hard, we'll back him. But when I talk to my peers, Stan, you know what? That's not for you. People like us, we don't become officers. And I heard that from Black, white, Hispanic, all across the lines, that, hey, that's not for you. Don't even try. Well, Pat, fast forward a few years, Navy sent me back to school after I finished the broad opportunity for officer selective training program that they had at the time, and earned my degree by commission and became a Navy officer. So, but if I'd had listened to the naysayers, I would not be where I am today.
Wow. And as you were sharing that, the thought that struck me is people, and you use the term, our comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
And what actually literally the thought that hit me is your comfort zone is your prison. And that you're more being in law enforcement, and we talk about recidivism and stuff. And I'm telling you, I had more people I came across that when I would ask them, why did you keep committing crimes? And they go, because I could survive better in prison than I could outside. And so their comfort zone was really 3 squares a day and being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, and all that kind of stuff. That was better than trying to break the cycle of their condition outside. I'll just take the easy route. It's easier to be in prison than it is to be out. And you were talking about the gifts, and I want to, because I want to talk about your worksheet a little bit here in just a second. But I want to come back to, you said you were all fearfully and wonderfully created in the image and likeness of God. And there's a quote from Jeremiah, I knew you before you were formed in the womb. And knew mean that word in the scripture means I loved you before you were formed in your womb, and I consecrated you, meaning I gifted you before you were born. And part of our journey and our responsibility is discovering those gifts and then using them to better the world, and not yourself. It's about everybody else. And people go, okay, yeah, that's great. Jeremiah, how many thousands of years ago was that? And I go, and here's my response. There was a kid that was born in 1991, died in 2006 at the age of 15. His name is Carlo Acutis. He's now a saint in the Roman Catholic Church. And this was a 15-year-old's. He understood this. This is one of my favorite quotes by him. We are all born unique, but sadly, many of us die a photocopy of somebody or something else. And a 15-year-old can come to the realization that
out of the mouths of babes.
Yeah, that I was created as a unique individual with gifts. Why would I settle to be a photocopy of somebody or something else? And so, but that takes time and effort on our parts, I think, to have those, if you want to call them aha moments or realizations, epiphanies, whatever you want to call it. Your worksheet is a practical stepping stone to start that process, if I understand it correctly.
It is, because as we were kind of talking earlier before this, it's one thing to say something, okay, that sounds nice, and that sounded good, but how do I apply it? Mm-hmm. Okay, how do I put that to work for me so that I can do the things that I need to do to actually be able to detox? And while you were talking there, I just kind of pulled it up because I just kind of wanted to run through it real quick. First of all, you got to detect the conditioning. How am I being conditioned? And I ask people to, list 3 beliefs about yourself or your abilities or your future that you feel are holding you back. And this causes people to take a moment, step back, and reflect on, what exactly is going on here? And then write that down. And then after you kind of write down what it is that you believe holding you back, reflect on it a moment, okay? Well, what about those beliefs are you ready to question right now? Is this doubt that I have about myself, is it really true? Is what this person said over here or what was told to me that's not for you? And Pat, I had to sit back and reflect on that a moment and say, you know what, is that true? No, that's not true. That's not my truth. I am not going to live my life, according to what somebody else believes. If it's in God's will for me to do it, then I'm going to do it because I'm acting in God's will and I'm doing what he wants me to do. If I give it to my doubts, and this is something that's within his will, then I'm going against his will. Why would I want to do that? And you expose that doubt and call it out for what it is. And takes a moment to reflect on that, and then put some action steps in place that's going to take you to where you actually want to be. So in this instance, I'm being told that, hey, this is not for you. Okay, I look back and I question that. Is that really true? No, it's not. Okay, so what am I going to do to make this goal come about? All right. I mean, listen, hey, I'm going to have to finish my degree. It requires a degree to be a Navy officer. All right. So how am I going to do that? You don't make a lot of money as an E4. So how am I going to pay for college? Well, the Navy had a program, brought an opportunity for officer selective training at the time. Okay, I'm going to have to apply for that. I talked to my XO. I talked to my chief petty officer. What will it take for y'all to recommend me to this program? And they laid it out for me. And let me tell you, I worked some long hours, but it was worth it, Pat, because I learned a solid work ethic. I worked all the time during the week, I 12, 14 hours a day sometimes. But that was okay because that helped me when I went back to college. And okay, now that I'm in college, what I need to do here to graduate and be part of the NROTC program and complete both of those and get my commission and my degree.
Yeah.
So I put steps into place to take me toward my goal. And what this detox worksheet will do for you is, one, it'll help you call out what those doubts are. And then the second thing that's going to have you do beyond detecting conditioning that's going on in your mind is to expose that doubt and question, and then put some steps into place to move from doubt to where it is you feel that you need to be.
Wow. It kind of reminds me, and some people will go, well, they can't, what's the word I want to use? They can't grasp how, what are the things that have conditioned me, because it's just not part of anything. It's like, there's a Supreme Court justice. This is going to sound weird. There was a Supreme Court justice that said once in a case, I can't define pornography, but I know what it is when I see it. And so often we go, I know there's stuff holding me back, but I can't define it. And I'm taking notes as you were talking, and I go, when I was growing up, you were probably the same way, because we're in that same generation. This is how we were conditioned as children. Kids are to be seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
That was the family value. The neighborhood, that was, kids are to be seen, not heard. So we were conditioned to keep your mouth shut. Now,
right.
What we would call that in you and I raising our kids and whatnot, would we translated that into suck it up, buttercup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so that when you talk about limiting thoughts and conditions, I want the audience to be thinking in terms of that. Not, it can be something formal. And I've had a couple guests on. Chad Coe was on, and he was diagnosed as special ed. And same thing, he came up in the 60s, and he was put in an institution until third grade, and was in a special ed class, which was four boys in a padded room with a teacher who had a cattle prod. And so that's how if his brother in the summer hadn't tackled him when they were playing flag football and broken his leg, he would have gone back to that institution in fourth grade. But they couldn't send him back, so he went into a quote unquote normal school, but they stuck him in the back of the classroom kind of stuff. But he was conditioned to believe, well, I'm diagnosed this way, I can't do X, Y, or Z. And so those kinds of limiting things is, I think, what you're talking about. Your detox worksheet helps you walk through those.
Yeah, some of those. But I also think of it like this. It could be as simple as, if you have a couple of crabs in a pot, all right, and one crab go to crawl out, sometimes that you get a crab that go pull it back down. Now, if that crab was left to its own, it may crawl out. and we pull each other down because we're, I don't want to say happy, but we're content with where we are. And when other people go to try to move up and move beyond uh, those false barriers that say, hey, this is where you kind of need to exist right off in here. Uh, what makes you better than the rest of us?
Yeah.
You hear things like that. You're no better than I. And
Yeah.
all you want to do is to have a better education. God gives you a dream and you go after it. And maybe God has given that individual a dream and they just haven't chased it, or they chased it and went after it, but they failed. And failure does not need to be final.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to fail. Even pursuing God's will, we're going to fail. We get back up. We dust ourselves off. Hey, what did I learn from that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to go that route again. I'm going to tweak this a little bit, and I'm going to come at it from this direction. And we can either learn from failure or allow failure to keep us within our comfort zone. And I think too many people have a failure, a couple of failures, and they push themselves back within their comfort zone and say, you know what? All is good right here.
Yeah.
I am simply going to stay where I am.
Yeah. Well, again, writing my note, misery loves company. I wrote that down. People hold you down because misery loves company. They're miserable. They don't want to go through it alone. And then the other thing that struck me is, and again, I'm coming back to scriptural stuff, is Peter failed miserably on Good Friday, but he didn't stay in that failure. But then the flip side, Judas failed miserably as well, mm-hmm. and he regretted what he had done. And rather than come and ask for forgiveness and take a different route, we all know the route that he took. And we do those
rather than learn from it and move forward out of that failure.
Yeah.
He chose a different route. And far too often we allow things to keep us from being the leaders that we should be because we failed. And again, failure is not final. You learn how not to do certain things. When you walk, Pat, when you're learning to walk, it's not automatic. You fall down a lot. My daughter, if she ever hears me say this or she watches this, I'll be in a whole lot of trouble. But when she was a toddler, she toddled. And we even got her a little helmet. Okay, because we didn't want people thinking we were abusing our child, and to keep her safe, but she learned to walk. She fell down a lot,
but
now she's just as graceful as anything. And honey, if you heard your daddy tell this story here on this podcast, okay, just forgive me. But failure again is not final, and I cannot say that too many times. We fail when we learn to walk. We even learning to drive a car. We make mistakes and we learn from that. Writing.
Riding a bike.
Writing your name and you make mistakes in spelling and this, that, and the other. I'm 64 now, and I still make some mistakes sometimes in writing and things of that nature. But that's okay. You learn from that and say, okay, I don't spell it this way. I spell it this way.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that couples with that, we will eagerly embrace our shortcomings and mm-hmm. use that as a crutch or an excuse.
Yes.
But we don't have the same attitude and confidence when it comes to trust. And that on the one side, you got, man, I really screwed up and I failed, but we won't recognize but I trust, they'll say, trust the process, or trust, trust in the Lord and stuff. And we go, yeah, but we don't have that same, oh yeah, you failed. Yeah, but I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn.
I love what you said there. We embrace our deficiencies.
Yeah.
and use them as rationale for not doing the things that we know we should do, that we can do, that we would love to do. But hey, you got such a chokehold on those deficiencies that you can't seem to use your hands for anything else.
Yeah. I call it the lazy river ride, that it is easier to get in that little raft and ride the lazy river and let it do all the work until you realize, or don't realize, you end up right where you started, which is nowhere. And you
might end up, Pat, in the rapids. Okay.
Yeah, that lazy river. Yeah, it could be a class 5 rapid coming up. But how we can justify mediocrity in ourselves, and that we will, in the workplace, we will expect and only accept the best from the people that work for us, because I don't want to, as a leader, I don't want to be seen as a failure. But then I don't expect and accept only the best from myself.
Right. Do as I say, but not necessarily do as I do.
Yeah.
What we really need to do is, when it comes to these limiting beliefs, when it comes to our self-doubts, you were asking earlier, how do we know this? Well, another question could be asked, okay, if I notice them, what do I do with those limiting beliefs? What do I do with that self-doubt? Well, what we have to understand is that where we're standing right now, we have a certain vantage point, how we see things. And it's limited by that negative self-talk. It's limited by the doubt and the limiting beliefs. And then you have to, again, recognize that for what it is. But then you're going to have to go to a different elevation point. You're going to have to shift your vantage point. Pat, if I had a group of people and I had like a beach ball, and you know how it's multiple colors, and I set that ball out there, and then I had everybody put their hand against the ball and hold it in place. And I asked you to say, hey, what colors do you see? Well, I see red and yellow. Somebody else may see blue and green. The person over here will see a different set of colors. They're not wrong at all, but their viewpoint is limited. Now, if I have them drop their heads down, where now everybody can, they change the vantage point, everybody can look down, you can now see all the colors. Well, you shifted your vantage point. And so once you shift your vantage point to where you can now see things differently, so you can see those limiting beliefs for what they are, you can see the self-doubt for what it is, the imposter syndrome. Hey, this doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't need to live under this imposter syndrome. Now you can set action steps so that you can move forward. And I call this my vantage point shift framework. And it's just a 4-step deal to get people. And that's another thing that the detox worksheet does, is it starts to move people through these 4 points. And we just have to be able to shift our vantage point. If not, we always stay where we are.
Yeah. And the flip side to that coin is, because a lot of people they're afraid of addressing the negative aspects in their life, their shortcomings, those limiting beliefs. And I don't know that I really want to change my perspective. The flip side of the coin is, but when you change that perspective, you're also going to now see all the opportunities and the positive that you're talking about the beach ball is up here in your face and you're holding your hand and whatnot.
Mhm.
But if we lower it, guess what? Not only do I see all the different colors, but I see the person on the other side of that ball, and I can work on developing relationships and collaborations, and all, whether it's in the workplace or whatever. Even in your faith life, you're going, well, yeah, I've done so many bad things in life that God could never love me, or all those things, and you're going, but if you recognize and, for lack of a better term, confront those shortcomings, those bad things you did, and start with forgiving yourself. The past, it's called a rear view mirror for a reason. It's behind you. Now look at everything, opportunities you have in front of you. And I think part of what your books and your trademark programs do is help people face, I call it fear. We all have a fear factor. And for most people, fear is defined as forget everything and run, as opposed to, yes, I can have a fear factor that I'm challenged. I'm not really confident, but my fear is face everything and respond. And then and you may have to do it multiple times, that you fail until look at a quarterback. He throws one interception. Does he throw his hands up and go, coach, take me out, I suck, I can't do this or whatnot? No, you go back in and you call different plays, and they'll call a play, hey, let's make an easy pass, and get your confidence back. And you don't just quit because you fell short one time or a dozen times.
Oh, no, absolutely not. You cannot do that. You can't let life defeat you like that. God is always there for us. He was there yesterday. He's there today, and he'll be there tomorrow. And he wants the very best for us. But sometimes we don't act like we're willing to pursue the very best for us. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with pursuing the very best for yourself and try to become the best person that you can be, because before you can lead anybody else, Pat, you have to be self-led. And you have to invest in yourself to become the best leader that you can be. And basically, you can think of it like this. How are you going to pour out of an empty pitcher? Mm-hmm. If you're, whether you're a husband or a wife, colleague at work, and if husband and wife at home try to pour leadership into your child and leadership in that household, you lead each other. Well, you can't do that if you can't do that if you're so tied up in doubt and you're not taking the opportunity to advance yourself. Yeah. You have to invest in yourself to become well self-led, and then out of that self-leadership, you can lead and act upon your gifts. So I want to encourage your audience out there, once again, all of you have gifts. Take the time to invest in yourself, and you don't have to make a remake all in one day, okay? Yeah. Wherever you are in life, you didn't get there in a moment. You got there over a period of time, and sometimes it's going to take some time to change and to change the framework of your mind, but you have to get started.
Yeah.
You have to get started and grow yourself so that you can grow others. One thing I love about my wife, she's a strong leader. I spent most of my life in public service, and she's been in the banking and finance world. And people say, "Well, Stan, your wife being in the banking world, doesn't she make more money than you do?" And I say, "Yeah, where are my pom-poms?" And I'm cheering her on.
Yeah.
And when she has an accomplishment, I'm cheering her on. That's my helpmate. I love her. and I want to help her be the best version of herself and in the occupation that she's in. Uh, Compared to me as a public servant, she was always going to make more money. So I could hold that against her. I could hold her up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of my job as a husband and as a man is to lift my wife up and encourage her. And you know what she does? She lifts me up. She encourages me as a man, and we try to do that with each other. But make no doubt, that lady grows herself. She takes the time to invest in her personal leadership, and I take the time to invest in my personal leadership so that we're both well self-led and that we can pour into each other. And that translates into the workplace too.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership in the workplace should be 360 degrees, Pat. We should lead up to our supervisors, lead across to our peers, and for those that we're a leader or a manager over, we should be leading them. But you're not leading anybody if you're not well self-led.
Yep.
All right?
Yep. Probably one of the best books I've ever read. And well, two great books. One by John Maxwell, Leaders Are Learners, and then Ryan Holiday's Ego Is the Enemy, where it's not about you. This life is not about you. It's about other people. And I'm my wife. It kills my wife sometimes. I'll have I'm reading 5 books at one time, and they're laying around different parts of the house, and I'll have a
multitask.
Yeah, I got a legal pad for each one, and I'm taking notes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm older than you, and I'm constantly still trying to learn, because if you're not learning, then you're stagnant, and then that's when you quit living, kind of deal. You said something else that really triggered a thought. About the 360, and again. Yeah. Man, this is the most I've talked about John Maxwell in a long time. I'm just glad we have something.
He's always the subject of a good conversation.
Yeah, and we have that in common. And he talks about from a leadership standpoint and what your focus is. And one of the things he talked about was how many head coaches came out of being a assistant coach under Vince Lombardi.
Mm-hmm.
And in Vince Lombardi, he has a trophy named after him. The Super Bowl trophy is named after Vince Lombardi. But John, he threw that question out. He got how many of his assistant coaches went on to become head coaches themselves? And the answer is 0. And then he asked, do you know why? And John shared this, is one of his most famous quotes, Lombardi's, winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And it was all about winning. Don't be a loser. Win, win, win. Now, if you looked in the last 30 years, there are 4 head coaches in the history of the NFL over the last 30 years that under their coaching tree, if you will, are over 60 head coaches, come from 4 people. And Bill Walsh and gosh, I used to know, I had all 4 of them.
Yeah, and even now the last year's Super Bowl winner, Seattle. That coach was a product of another successful coach, and he gave gratitude and praise to that coach who helped him get to where he is. And you have people like John Maxwell, and they are rare. And what John's doing right now through Maxwell Leadership is he's trying to reproduce his efforts into people that have same passion that he does for going out and teaching leadership and taking that out into the world, which is something that I love. But every one of us, if you influence one person, somebody out there uh, spoke truth into the life of Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody did that, and you know what? Look how many people Billy Graham reached.
Yeah.
All because somebody reached out to him and spoke into his life about saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. And from there, look at how many people have even come from Billy Graham. And it's the same of many other leaders. Your Martin Luther King Jr. and other uh, military leaders who take their knowledge back to the academies, and then they pass that knowledge down to other officers, senior non-commissioned officers that have risen up through the ranks and all the knowledge that they have, and they're passing that knowledge on to the sailors and soldiers and airmen beneath them. And that's what we need to do. But again, it goes all the way back to you have to be self-led. And for you to be well self-led, you have to put your doubts behind you. You have to put those limiting beliefs behind you so that you can step into what God has always wanted you to do. He's always wanted the best for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to have the willingness to step out of it. I like the way you talked about the comfort zone. Let me define it a little bit of a different way. Think of a comfort zone as being in this dark, dank, uncomfortable place, sitting in an uncomfortable chair, but there's a light. You can see the light. All you need to do is get up out of the chair, make your way to the light, step outside that door, and close it and step forward out of that uncomfortable comfort zone and step into what God has always wanted you to do. Step into your giftings. And that's what I want to challenge people here today. That's what I want for your audience. I want them to become the best versions of themselves. I don't want them to become the best version that Stan feels that they ought to be, because that limits them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't want them to become the best version that their parents or their grandparents. What's the best version of yourself that you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to step into.
And this is going to sound like it's coming completely out of left field, but as you're sharing that story, this is what I'm reminded of. That you don't have to be anybody famous. You don't have to be John Maxwell. You don't have to be Les Brown, Simon Sinek, anything. All those famous people in the leadership arenas we all know about. We're not talking about you have to be like them. And I'm going to give you this very short story that this is how simple, that nobody may ever know your name, but you made a difference in one person's life that impacted the entire world. And here's the story. There was a police officer, and I do not know his name, in Louisville, Kentucky, way back in the day, and he was part of the police athletic league program of the Louisville Police Department, and specifically the boxing program. And one day he is talking to this young 9-year-old who's an at-risk child in the the neighborhood he lived in, and all these things that he would probably be in the pipeline to prison kind of deal statistically that was for this particular community environment he was living in. And this cop invited this 9-year-old, hey, why don't you come join us at the gym? And I want to introduce you to boxing. and give you something to do that will keep you off the street kind of deal. And this 9-year-old kid says, yeah, sure, why not? You know the rest of the story. That little kid's name was Cassius Clay. We all know him as Muhammad Ali. Nobody remembers the name of the cop, but Muhammad Ali does, or did, in his lifetime. But that's what we're talking about when you talk about those limiting beliefs and that fear factor of, I don't know that I should step out. If that cop had not, if he had those limits, the kid's he's going to end up in prison or dead anyway.
Why should I take
why should I care? And no, he wasn't afraid. The cop wasn't afraid of a 9-year-old telling him no. Oh, you're the police, and all those negative things about being a cop in uniform kind of deal. No, he set those limiting beliefs, and that if I can just impact one kid's life, even if it's only, it keeps him out of trouble for the next year.
It's worth it.
But look at the difference. His one choice of stepping out. Look at Mother Teresa, now Saint Teresa of Calcutta. What if she said, and she didn't have to go into the slums of Calcutta. She wasn't even from there. Yeah. But she put all those limiting beliefs. And if you read her stories and her, biographies and stuff that have been done about her, even as a future saint, she had doubts about herself and her impact that she was having in Calcutta. But she had that inner circle of people, 4 or 5 people that she trusted and who believed in her and built her up. And like you said, your wife built you up. That's who we should be surrounding ourselves with, is people that believe in us despite our shortcomings and our failures.
Absolutely.
So, man, this is a great conversation. What are some other kind of really foundational points you would want to share with folks that, hey, because I didn't ask you the right questions or something? What are some other things you'd like to share? And then I want you to share with us how they can reach out to you and find this worksheet and learn more about becoming the best version of themselves.
Well, I would tell them something that John Gordon said one time. He said, the thoughts we think and the words we say become our reality. What's going to be your reality? What are the things that you're telling yourself here today? What things should you be telling yourself? You get to shape your reality. You have a say in it. You say, well, Stan, you don't understand my circumstance. I have this going on. I have this going on. All right. Control what you can control. And that's the thoughts that you think. That's the words that you say to yourself. Because the words coming out of your mouth, you have control over those. So take control. I will say this here. I remember being back in college, and I went to the University of New Mexico at the time, and there were not a lot of African Americans there at that particular time. And everybody told me there's no way that you're going to get on the homecoming court. There's just absolutely no way. They might as well have made me do it, because as soon as they told me that you can't, okay, I cut off the apostrophe T and say I can, and went ahead and did it anyway. Well, long story short, I made it onto the court. It was at a breakfast, and the commanding officer of my NROTC unit comes up, and he sees me there at a breakfast, and he thought it was a great representation of the Navy ROTC program. And he says, I tell you what, Lewis, where do you want to go on your senior midshipman cruise? Matter of fact, there's a foreign cruise, and I'm going to put you in for it. I learned so much from that foreign cruise. I I spent a week at the Korean Naval Academy. And I remember as midshipman, we were reporting into the commanding officer for the Korean Naval Academy. And we thought we would do so by trying to speak Korean and march in like they would and everything else like that. And it was horrible. Okay. Our Korean was bad. And he got up and he looked mad. And he just came down and looked every one of us in the eye, was like, okay, we did it now. And then after that, he wined us and dined us, and we didn't spend anybody out of our pocket. Had a great time. Why? Because when we were in their house, we showed respect. So from not doubting myself, I went to a place where I learned an important life lesson. When I'm in somebody's house, whether here in the United States, in somebody's house for dinner or someplace else, respect them for respect their house, respect that individual. Important life lesson that I would have never learned if I'd have doubted myself and said, well, you know what, you're right, I really shouldn't run for that. But and again, I told myself I can when everybody else said I can't. So those words became my reality. I can.
Yeah.
Let those words be your reality. When other people tell you that you can't and you feel that it's God's will, you can. Keep pressing forward. If you fall down, that's okay. Get back up, brush yourself off, find out, learn from it, and then press forward again. Now, you asked me, Pat, how can people get hold of me? They can get hold of me at stanlewis.net/home, STANLEWIS /HOME. So that's a website they can get back with me at. The Doubt Detox worksheet. I've sent you a copy of it. You can just put a link in there.
Yeah.
That way they can click on it, because if I told them the link, nobody's going to remember it because it's so long. But I would love for you to jump on that. It's a complimentary worksheet. I would love your feedback on it. You can leave me a message at stanlewis.net /HOME. I also have Crafting Your Legacy on there, which is another little worksheet that kind of helps you speak in the crafting your legacy for your home and everything else like that, or your workplace. And just follow up with me. We've got a lot of good stuff coming out. Book on September the 15th, Evicting the Doubt That's Been Squatting Rent-Free in Your Mind. And there's a lot of good bonus items that are going to come out with that book. You're going to want to be a part of that.
Awesome. And just a little word, I would almost call it a word of caution. And it comes back to Ryan Holiday's book, Ego is the Enemy. We're not telling people, and I'm a 100%. Drop that apostrophe and get rid of the T and go, yes, I can. But don't be reckless in that, because when you started telling the story, it's, oh, you'll never make. And I thought you were going to say, oh, here, hold my beer. It's like, don't be reckless and jump into stuff. You still have to have a strategic mindset, not a reckless mindset. But don't let other people. And I'm going to end it with this, because this is the reverse of it. And you would think this would be a really, really great story. Is I went to law school. I graduated from high school. I was 17. I was in college for like 3 months before I even turned 18. And I'm in college. I actually wanted to be, I wanted to be a business ed major, teach high school, and coach basketball. But all through high school, all through college, people said, you'll make a great lawyer. You have all in all these things. I did my first major public speaking when I was 16 years old in Houston, Texas, at a conference, Key Club international conference. And everybody goes, you'll make a great lawyer. So what I became a lawyer, and I hated it. And I got married in my second year of law school, and we're coming up on our 46th wedding anniversary is coming up in September. And when I was 28 years old, my wife's like, you hate what you're doing. What do you really want to do? And I kind of outgrown it turned out I suck at math and some other things. So being a business ed major was not going to probably work out very well anyway. But I said, well, since I was probably 9 or 10, I wanted to be a cop. And she goes, go do that if that's your calling. And it was a vocation. It wasn't because it's going to be exciting, because it's not exciting. And I spent 26 years in that career, and
appreciate your service.
Well, thank you. And I was where God wanted me to be, and I have those kind of stories. So don't jump into stuff just because somebody throws a gauntlet down or a challenge down that says, absolutely, you can't do that. If God doesn't want you to do it, don't go, hey, here, hold my beer. I'm going to prove you wrong. That's ego talking. That's not God.
You a trusted mentor or a trusted friend and talk about it. And your wife asks you the key question: what is it that you really want to do? Yeah. And what you thought into it and open yourself up to God's will, the answer became clear to you. And we should always do that in any major endeavor and even in our minor endeavors, because at the time, being on the homecoming court was a minor endeavor, but God used that to instill in me some important life lessons. But you should always try to find that mentor, that person that you can trust.
Yep.
Not somebody that'll just say no, who's just like that extra crab in the pot, who just kind of wants you to pull you back down, but somebody who believes in you and wants the best for you, and somebody that's really willing to ask you that gut check question that your wife asked you. What is it you really want to do? And I bet you she asked you why.
Yes, she did.
All right. And so you have to spell it out, and then you sought God's will, and then boom, there you are, 26 years.
Yeah. Oh man, Stan, what a great conversation. So glad we were able to get you scheduled and get in here and have. These are the kind of conversations people need to hear, so that internally, a lot of people go, oh, I want to hear, an inspirational speech, or, I go to church because the preacher is really inspirational. No. And what's John say? It's not what happens to you. It's what happens in you. That is the most important thing. So for our audience, I hope our conversation today has spurred something in you that you will now feel and believe in yourself, and you're a better person for having listened to this episode, and you're looking forward to moving forward. So reach out to Stan, stanlewis.net/home, that free worksheet. Take those steps, those baby steps, and start on that path to becoming the best version of you that God created Amen. You to be. So, and to our audience, man, I love you. It's because of you. We're now in 72 countries, on 6 continents, and we're building the Warrior Servant Leader community together, that surround yourself with people that have the same vision, mission, and goals as you do. You're making that happen. So thank you, and keep up the great work of sharing our message, and we will keep growing this community even larger. So until next week, I'm going to end this episode with what I do in every episode. Always, always, always strive to do the right things at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons, because Amen. That's what warrior servants and leaders do every day, every time. Love you all, and see you next week.